Welcome to the Inside Scuba podcast about self improvement and knowledge seeking. Our aim is to explore a diverse range of topics and perform self checks on whether we're being the best versions of ourselves every week. I'm your host, Mario Serbalis. Let's get started. So this time I'm with my co host, Oscar, and I'm also joined by Dumitru. Hey there, guys.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Good to
So,
be back.
oh, hell yeah. Now with an actual inspiring story, man. Damn. So we were actually talking about you some, and like, well, we know that you've been exercising consistently a lot for the past. However, what's the time? Like, how long have you been doing it for?
Well, I've always been a bit of an active. Well, active would be a stretch, but I've always like to do some sporty stuff here and there. But properly training, I haven't started until what was it? So I want to say late March, early April of 2019. But since then, I've had ups and downs because I had an internship that summer and I wasn't able to work out because I just couldn't fit in my schedule. I should have found a better way, but just didn't happen. And then I didn't properly start picking it up until I bumped into a bodybuilder friend that was in my class in January, and then he got me back into it hardcore. Um, so then been doing like 4 to 6 days a week since January. And then afterwards, it didn't. So I basically like started getting even more into it since the lockdown, simply because that basically well, there's a lot of reasons which we can go into a bit later on, but partly because I actually had the time to get into it. I
Mm.
could actually structure my life a bit better and my food and everything else.
Are the gyms open?
Nope, just since the lockdown, I've been doing it at home, doing what's called calisthenics,
Okay.
which, if you don't know what calisthenics means, it's basically just body weight exercises. So basic versions of calisthenics would be stuff like pull-ups, push-ups, that kind of stuff. The planche, if you ever heard of it, that's also calisthenics. Uh, it's basically like the way I look at it, and the reason why I like it so much, the reason why I actually like it more than gym, more than weightlifting, is simply because you're manipulating the state of your entire body with just your two hands, or one in some cases.
Mm.
Or it's just like you don't need anything extra, like no weights, no nothing.
There's obviously things that you can use, um, like you can use resistance bands to make things like pull-ups easier, or harder. Like certain things you can make harder. You can take a weight vest and put it on to make your pull-ups harder. You can just fill up a bag with stuff and like make your exercises harder. Um, Calisthenics isn't necessarily about like the minimalistic ways of like, oh, you don't need anything to work out, you just work out. It's more about just simply learning to master your own body.
So do you have a routine right now? How does it look like?
I'm trying to, yes, but I'm very bad at it. So my goal right now is to have a day of upper body, uh, and then a day of lower body, and then every day I try to do core. And then I'll give myself like one day off a week whenever I feel like it. Sometimes I won't have it. Sometimes I'll have it. Um, but I've been, I haven't been the best about it for the past like month or so. It's been kind of hard because X, Y, and Z reasons.
Okay.
Um, but but I mean, even then, like I haven't been very good at it, but I have been improving like dramatically.
Yeah. But you have like a set of exercises that you do when you do it.
Right. Okay.
Or
Actual exercises.
yeah.
Yeah. So I mostly center around pull-ups, push-ups. What else do I do? I have for core. I have a routine that I kind of put together, which is basically just different exercises for abs and obliques
Yeah.
put together in a little circuit type thing, where I would do one for 45 seconds, then 15 seconds rest, and then so on and so forth. Um, for legs, I usually stick to body weight squats. Just do a high amount of them. So like I'll do something like 30 a set, 30 reps a set. um, calf raises, which is basically just you standing on your tippy toes, but with one leg because you want to make it harder. And then I would also go like up to a very high amount. Like it would be in terms of reps, it would be anywhere from like 30 to like 70 reps a set. Um,
Damn.
it sounds much, but when you start doing it, you realize it's actually kind of easy.
Right.
It, yeah.
So
Um,
body weight squats, you mean just like standing and just squatting? Is that what it is,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Like squatting without any weights on,
Oh,
basically. Um, and then the other thing that I've somewhat half-assed put together, which I need to be really careful about because if I don't, I might f up some of my joints. Is I've basically taken an elastic band. I'm standing on it, and then I'm pulling it up the way you would with a deadlift,
Mm.
and that seems to work quite nicely. Um,
Is that like supposed
but
to replace the deadlift or?
well, yes, until I can get back into the gym and do
Right.
actual deadlifts. Because I need a way to like exercise my hamstrings a bit.
Yeah.
Because it's actually kind of hard. Like I also cycle. Well, I probably won't be for a while because my wheel just got punctured. But
Damn.
oh,
like I would cycle here and there, and that would also help my quads and my calves quite a bit.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Cycling is great.
yeah, I love it. Um, it also wastes so many calories on it. Like
Yeah.
it's so good.
So a lot better for your joints than running is actually. So that's the plus.
It depends actually.
Right.
It depends how you do it because you can easily do cycling the wrong way and you can easily do running
Okay.
the wrong way. It's a lot easier to do running the wrong way simply because of the shoes that most people wear. Um, I don't have that much first-hand experience, but I know a lot from my sister that's an ultra marathon runner. Um, and what she was telling me is that you usually will want to run with shoes called soleless shoes or barefoot shoes or something like that.
Right.
And they basically just have a very, very thin layer at the bottom rather than having a whole sole with a heel and everything. And the reason for that is that if you look at the anatomy of your actual foot, then you have the ball, which, like, if you go tippy toes, you basically stand on that. And then you have the heel, and then you have the arch in between them. The reason why people would F up their knees while running is because they would usually land on their heels, which means that the knee would take the blunt of like the actual weight, right?
Yeah.
Whereas if you do it without soles, it's much easier to land on your ball the way you're supposed to run, the way you're supposed to run. So then when you land on your ball, it's the actual arch of the foot that takes most of the impact. Because if you look at the arch of the foot, it basically mimics. Well, it's not the arch of the foot that mimics it. It's the car suspensions that mimic the arch of the foot, right? Because it's quite literally you can say a human spring that just softens the impact.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
it's
guess that's what
interesting.
we're evolved for as well. If we never really used shoes that much before
Yeah.
for so many millions
Yeah.
of years.
Exactly. Exactly. It's all just comes from biology, really.
Right.
Yeah, the way I was technically taught is that you hold your hand sort of by your knee and you like just hold your foot like that and let it completely relax, and then you sort of see how your toe falls and you see like that the ball is lower than the heel, so that's technically
Mm-hmm.
this is the way you should lower it, like just this is the way you should hit the ground.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I'd
100%.
usually so if I'm running this way, this would I feel like it's more of like a sprint run, right? Like, damn, dude, it just hurts. Like muscles start hurting
That's because you
way
never used them.
differently. Yeah, yeah, that's true
Yeah.
too.
But yeah,
You
that's
know,
actually another reason why I like calisthenics so much because it feels a lot more natural. With weightlifting and machines, you target muscles in a completely different way. Um, so one of the pieces of equipment that I recommend anyone get when it comes to calisthenics is gymnastic rings. I'm guessing you guys know what those are, right?
I think so.
Yeah, it's basically the like big wooden or sometimes plastic rings. They would be like a little bit in terms of inner diameter, they'll be a little bit smaller than like your palm. right?
But you need to hang them somewhere.
Yeah, and then and then you hang them. I do it on a pull-up bar. You can do it on like a swing set or a branch of a tree or whatever you can, right?
Mm.
And if you do anything on them, like for example, you can do dips. Doing dips on those versus doing dips on something like a dip machine, it is so different. It
Mm.
still largely targets mostly the same muscles, but it's so different because you start using a lot of muscles that you never even realized you had, like a lot of micro muscles that are used for stabilization.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
Because if you think about it, those rings are basically just floating in the air,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
And there's nothing from stopping you from just plummeting down and your hands going like like to left and right, you know.
Mm.
So you have to like force yourself not only to hold your body up, but to hold the hands in the position where they're supposed to be. Even actually lately, because I've gotten, well, not to brag, but I've gotten a bit too good with my push-ups, and I need to
Mhm.
target my I need to target my chest a little bit better. I started doing
Oh yeah.
push-ups on those rings. So basically, what I did is I lowered them as far as I could, almost to the ground. Just made sure not to touch the ground, and then instead of going to the ground to do my push-ups, I would go on the rings.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
technically, they're basically inclined push-ups, which you'd think that incline meaning your top half of the body is elevated compared to your bottom half of the body. Um, you'd think that it's easier because usually incline is easier, but
Yeah, sounds like it should be. Yeah.
no, it's not easier at all because you need to focus so much on keeping your hands stable and not moving.
Mm.
Like
Wow,
it's
dude.
actually work, and in the beginning, like it's hard, man. It's so hard, but it like if I go back to a year ago when I first started doing exercising with rings, I remember taking me like about 2 or 3 weeks of like constant working out to get used to the rings, and then from there you can like start doing so many more things.
So is it a thing that if some of your muscles that it becomes a lot easier to get them strong? Is it because they're kind of strong? It's harder to target this other smaller muscles that are not quite.
Yeah,
Yeah, is
yeah,
that what it is?
it's a lot harder to target some muscles. In fact, a lot of weightlifters talk about the same thing when it comes to machines versus just free weights. Because when you go to machine, it's literally just targeting one muscle mostly. Like you go to a curl machine, it's only going to be that one muscle, and then obviously like maybe a bit of like that, like the bicep curl machine. It's like 90%, 95% of that's going to go into your biceps, and
Mm.
then the rest of it's just going to go into your grip because you actually need to hold it.
Right.
Sometimes you won't even be that because you'll just like put the wrist behind it and then just pull over your wrist, and you won't even need to like grab onto anything sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, so like, and that's not necessarily bad. Like it has its uses, obviously. Like it does work. Um, but then many people will end up think about it this way. So like you'll think about the guy that just goes to the gym and does bicep curls, right?
Mm.
And then doesn't do anything else. Doesn't do his chest, doesn't do his back, doesn't do his triceps, doesn't do his forearms, just bicep curls all the time.
Yeah.
That's obviously going to have a big imbalance.
Yeah.
And it's not going to develop his muscles properly.
It's gonna look kind
And
of
many
ridiculous
times
too.
he would be like, yeah. And many times he would be like, oh yeah, yeah, my muscle, I've got big, strong biceps. So let's do something else. Tries to do something else because he thinks he can do like he can curl like I don't know 20 kilos on one arm. That means he must be able to do like 25, 30 kilos rowing, right? No,
Hmm.
because he hasn't developed his back.
Wow. Or like give him some tricep stuff or
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And because even when I was in the gym, I was more of a proponent of compound movements, meaning rather than like doing isolating movements, I would do movements that tend to target more muscles at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
For example, what my warm up used to be at the gym was just sit down at a bench and then grab a couple of dumbbells, fairly light because it's just a warm up, do curls, like both sides at the same time, do curls, and then from there just push up and go into shoulder press. I really enjoyed that, for example, and I enjoyed it partly because I just enjoyed doing that kind of stuff, but it's also good because it basically just targets a lot of your muscles. Well, not a lot, but comparatively speaking.
Yeah, not one.
So like it does a bit of your forearms, it does quite a bit of your biceps, and then your shoulders. So then it like keeps everything in balance, sort of.
Oh yeah, I have. I remember from back in the day when I had like I knew some bodybuilders. Well, uh, damn, they do say. And when I was asking, right, so how do I get into exercising, right? What should I do first? And they're like, well, you should probably be avoiding the gym almost, right? Or like not really. How do I say? So if you want to get stronger, healthier, they're really not advertising like, go to the bicep curl machine and just do them,
Yeah.
because you're gonna also, not only that, you're, like if you imagine an angle of your movement, you're only gonna like curl like, I don't know, like 30 degrees or something, and like your muscle. So not only you're exercising one muscle, but you're exercising it to a very limited range.
Yep, the
So,
range of
yeah,
motion.
yeah.
That is a thing that's widely talked about, actually. And it's important that you get a good range of motion because, the range of movement,
Mm-hmm.
simply because you want to exercise all of the muscle, not just part of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
If you have limited range of motion in your exercises, that's usually when you're trying to do something very specific. Like you're trying to basically drop set that, where instead of putting the weights down, because you can't do that with like calisthenics because you don't have weights. So instead of doing that, you can just do a limited range of motion in order to make the exercise lighter at the end of your workout,
Right.
if that makes sense. But even then, it's not actually very recommended of doing. Like for example, with squats, you can actually injure yourself by not squatting deep enough.
Really?
Your knees will take a lot more force if you don't squat deep enough.
Right.
Wow.
I
Scary,
guess I
dude.
could feel it.
Yeah. If you ever do body weight, any squats actually, remember the golden rule: ass to the grass.
Really, like just go all the way to the floor, pretty much.
Yep. If your body can allow it, go all the way to the floor. Well, not obviously all the way to the floor, but
Yeah.
like low enough,
Mm-hmm.
like low enough that normal grass would touch it, if there
Okay.
was grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is
You say
interesting.
But yeah.
your friends so your friends doing bodybuilding. So in bodybuilding, it's all about the aesthetics of the body, isn't it? So
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure if he's actually going into full on bodybuilding, but he's basically a bodybuilder. Like he's just working out like crazy.
and I guess then you want to work all sorts of different muscles, so you're well rounded, I guess.
Yes.
Can I just intervene quickly? Do
Yeah, go
you
on.
do you think that they puff up their muscles, but they may not be as strong though?
What do you mean puff up?
Because like bodybuilders, do you think a bodybuilder would do a bench press, or like could do,
If he's natural, then yeah.
like the same way that some sort of like a not such a buff
I
dude
mean,
would, like,
even an unnatural one, the ones that take steroids, like they take steroids, yeah, but they're still strong.
Okay. Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, they're still strong. Obviously, like there are some differences. Like you can't really take a bodybuilder and put him on the pull-up bar. I mean, you can, but like he's not gonna do all sorts of like amazing uh, feats of acrobacy like your normal calisthenics dude. Not normal, but like your advanced calisthenics dude.
Yes.
Like I can give you some links right now of like calisthenics montages where you just look at those guys and you're just thinking in your head like those guys are not human. Because, honestly, man, like some of the stuff that you see them do, they would either be like mid-air, completely full stop, and not even a single hair moving, like that amount of control, or they'll be like flying from bar to bar, like
Yeah.
but more impressive than monkeys, you know?
Yeah, but so you know where I'm coming from with this is like I sort of always imagined that when you are building muscle, you're sort of, going to the gym, do a lot of reps to exercise the muscle and, puff the muscle pretty much. But like, like circus artists,
Yeah.
the way that they seem so small, like some of them, seem weak, but they are exercising the strength rather than the size of the muscle, I guess. Or like
Yeah.
I have no idea how it works, but like imagine there's a dude holding a hand above his head, and then there's another dude on that hand with his hand standing on his
Yeah.
head. Like
Yeah.
it's just like whoa, man.
It's right. So I I should have probably put a disclaimer before I went into this, but I'm not a professional. I don't know
Yeah.
what I'm speaking. This is just me coming in with research from that I found on the internet and my general understanding of stuff like this.
Hmm.
But basically, the way I can put it to you is that bodybuilders are just gonna go basically like if you're trying to have muscles that are the biggest humanly speaking, bodybuilding is gonna be the thing that you need because you're gonna just be able to go up and up and up and up in weights, right? There isn't really a limit. When it comes to calisthenics, there is a limit. The limit is is your body, right?
Hmm.
So like there's a natural stigma when it comes to calisthenics where you're just not going to be able to at least as easily make your way up to a bodybuilder status just with calisthenics, which
Right.
is why many people would go into weighted calisthenics or just superset that with gym stuff.
But
The
so
other as yeah,
okay, but that's not the purpose of calisthenics, though, is it? It's like
no, it's not.
from what I thought, it's that calisthenics is sort of a thing that provides you the freedom of movement. You know, it's almost like
Hmm.
if you
Yeah,
were thrown in a jungle or something, so that you could like easily, without getting tired, you know, climb the trees with your hands and
yeah,
everything, and like maybe
exactly,
do
exactly.
parkour, like
Fight
freedom
off a
of
lion.
yeah,
Yeah,
well, flee, yeah,
and that's another thing. As a bodybuilder, like as like a big professional bodybuilder, it might be a bit harder for you to move around. Because if you look at look at runners, for example, they don't have muscles. They might have some calves, maybe
oh
a
yeah,
bit, maybe some quads, but they're not gonna have muscles. And they don't have muscles not because running doesn't train them. Of course it doesn't, but because if they did train them, they'll become worse at running,
Hmm.
right?
hmm.
Because that's just excess weight.
Yeah.
With calisthenics, it's something similar. Like you will only make the muscles that you need if you train purely bodyweight calisthenics, and you won't make any more. If you get to like the peak where you can do just about anything in calisthenics and you don't do any sort of like bodyweight stuff or do any steroids, you're gonna stop. You're gonna hit a level where you're just not gonna be able to go any further in terms of size, and that's biologically makes sense because one, you don't need it because if you did go bigger, then you'd just be wasting calories.
Mm.
Two, it will be harder for you to perform that sport.
Hmm.
Just like runners don't need muscles, you
Yeah.
know?
So is
Right.
it sort of then once you get to that level, you get a free expression with your body. You know, like how they do the flag exercise and everything, where they
Yeah,
like
yeah. That's
so
like advanced calisthenic stuff.
yeah. So do you think that once you reach that level, all you can do is just get more and more control of your body, like you say,
Yeah,
like midair and everything, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
That's just about it. Like a lot of the montages that I would see of calisthenics, it would be like many guys that would just do like swinging on the bars and like literally they would do like a muscle up and then throw themselves off the muscle up, do like a 360 and then land back on the bar. It's like impressive stuff for sure. But the stuff that's most impressive is when you see like a guy just completely stand still on the bar, not stand, but like hold themselves on the bar, do an L sit and like hold the bar perpendicular or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
just be completely still and have 100% control. That's more impressive, and it
Oh
basically like
yeah.
goes into that. Yeah, it's basically like as I was saying, I like calisthenics because you can control your body. You can like obviously I can't control 100% of my body, but it's a goal to make up to that if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
like working towards it, because like just in your
Yeah,
daily life, I would imagine that's a bit more useful than being able to do like hundreds of pounds of like bench press. Well,
well, I
okay,
wouldn't say it's
I would,
useful,
yeah,
but
okay. I'm not like saying that
Mhm.
it's probably like less or more because everything has uses, but I would imagine for me personally, I would probably go for calisthenics too because I'm also like a tall guy,
mhm.
so me being able to put on muscle, it's I would probably imagine it's harder. Although when it comes to
It will be a
calisthenics
little
and
bit harder, yeah. But it won't be harder in terms of oh you're just taller, so it's gonna be harder. It's gonna be a bit harder simply because if you so like for example a person can be at a certain level of muscle and then he can put on plus 10%, for example. That's actually quite a lot of muscle, but let's say he puts on plus 10%, right?
Mhm.
And that's 10% visually speaking, right?
Yeah.
That 10%, because like if you tell a small person to do plus 10%, it'd be much easier than a big person doing plus 10%, simply because that big person is going to have to put on so much more muscle.
Oh, so it's like a
Right.
relative 10%, but the absolute
Yeah,
value of how
yeah,
much muscle you're adding is
yeah,
different. Oh, so
yeah.
okay.
Because it's all about like you're gonna have to start eating a lot, and you're gonna have
Mm.
to like do heavier weights and so on and so forth.
It's funny actually. We I kind of brought this up when we were doing cycling with Alan.
Hmm.
And we went to St Andrews and we had food there, and we were coming back, and I was like, I'm finding it so much harder than these guys to go back now. And I was like, see, the food that we ate for me as a small person is a
Yep.
lot is a lot more
Yeah.
like
Yep.
more
Oh,
weight and
well.
but yeah, it's just a weird comparison.
Yeah.
Makes sense though.
Maybe.
If I can deviate the conversation a little bit, and I'd like to point towards some improvements that you get from exercise that not many people even realize it's a thing. It's the mental gains, not just the physical gains. In
Hmm.
fact, if I can go back uh, to when was it? Late March when I first started working out. Uh, the reason why I started working out wasn't because I want to look fit. I want to have girls. I want to X, Y, and Z bro reason, right?
Mhm.
The reason why why I started properly working out is because I was in a dark place mentally speaking. Um, I was very busy at the time, so I didn't have like I was doing what two projects in uni, two side projects. I mean, and then I had uni on top of that, and then the other stuff I had to deal with, and I was getting like stuffed out, if that makes sense. Like I was suffocating.
Mhm.
Um,
Wow.
and at some point, I just had a mini breakdown, and I basically just dropped some of the stuff that I had, and then instantly went to the gym, got myself the membership,
Yeah.
and ever since then, I found out. Um, I found that working out is an amazing stress relief
Oh
way.
yeah,
Like,
definitely.
if you let me put into context. So, a person goes through hardship, they're gonna be able to more easily endure hardship because
Mhm.
they go through the hardship, they come out the other end, they realize the life isn't shit. They realize that there's more to life, and they can endure that same hardship a lot better, right?
Yeah.
If let's say every single day you get up and go to the gym at 6 o'clock and work your ass off for like 2 hours, then you know that's gonna be the hardest part of your day,
Hmm.
right? So you're not gonna be afraid of the rest of it.
That's interesting.
Yes, and that goes like deeper into your mind as well,
Yeah.
because it's literally just making your mental state to be a state of all of these hardships. Okay, sure, whatever. I'm just gonna go for them and deal with them. I'm gonna suck it up and go, and you get into a state of mind where you can just more easily deal with things.
Hmm.
Um, and now with that said, like don't get me wrong, like I'm not saying this is way
Cure.
to just it's like, oh, you got depression, go to the
Yeah.
gym, bro. Like no, that doesn't
No.
work like that. Like even lately now with the lockdown, I've had, I don't want to go into it, but I've had some breakdowns as well.
Oh,
And
bro. Yeah.
one of
Mm.
the yeah, one of the things that really saved me was working out. Like during the lockdown, they came to a point where like 2 or 3 weeks, I was literally just working out like twice a day.
Hmm.
It's at some point I think I reached something like 4 hours of total exercise a day. Um, and I mean like strength exercise, not like cardio or anything.
Yeah.
Um,
See,
and that was the only thing that really kept my mind like semi together.
that's really good.
And yeah, uh,
Like,
and I would just like the thing is, everyone's saying like, oh yeah, you get to live longer, you get to attract girls or whatever. It's like, no, these are stupid reasons.
Mhm.
These are honestly like it's amazing. Like, don't get me wrong, I still look in the mirror and I'll be like, damn, I look good
Oh man,
compared to
I
what I used to
saw
be
that.
before.
You posted like doing some pull-ups, and I looked at your back or something. I was like,
I think we're talking
"Whoa,
about the
dude!"
same one.
Yeah, dude. It was like, "Oh
Yeah,
my
Yeah,
god,
thinking
Dumitru,
about the same
damn."
thanks. To be honest, I was impressed by that as well. I didn't even know I could see my own back muscles there.
That's
But yeah,
good.
like I would like don't get me wrong, I would still look in the mirror and I'd be like, wow, okay, like I've improved so much more. Like
Mhm.
right now I'm literally the fittest I've been in my entire life.
Yeah.
Um, but at the end of the day, I cannot underestimate the mental gains that I've had from this. Both being able to center myself and
Mhm.
have a relatively good mental health, and the other aspect just simply being able to like focus much better.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, if you dig in a bit into biology, the reasons why we have brains is so we can control our own bodies, so we
Mm.
can move, right? The brains is literally an input-output operation.
Mhm.
Um,
So then, if you control your body, then it maybe affects the mind,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
I guess the way
Like,
I've sorry, go on.
yeah, go. You start speaking first.
I guess the way I've looked at it was kind of diversifying. So, like while you're working out consistently, whatever else is going on in your life, you've still got this working out, and it feels like you're actually still keeping on top of this at least.
Mm. No, that was part of it. That was definitely part of it. Making this one thing that you're kind of forced to do if you want to work out properly is you're kind of needing to get into a structure. You needing to get into a schedule,
Mm-hmm.
and that was probably accounting for at least 40% of my well-being.
Yeah, especially in a lockdown without any
Yeah,
sort
yeah,
of. I mean, you had the internship, but for a lot of people, I guess in a lockdown,
yeah.
having a sort of structure from that would
Yeah,
be
and
good.
I mean, like, I found it really hard. Before the internship, I found it really hard to keep the schedule, but I still managed to crawl my way out of it a little bit. But yeah, it's having a schedule. Like the amount of people that I've spoken to. I even have a friend that works in the USA that is not a student anymore, and he was saying like, yeah, if there was one thing that I would tell myself, tell myself back in uni is to abide by a schedule, because ever since having to coming for an office job and forcing myself to be in a schedule, I felt so much better, and I've seen that from so many people.
For sure.
Um, but the whole thing with mental gains, I was gonna say like, yeah, one thing is mental health, but another thing is also just literal mental gains in terms of you're gonna be able to perform better mentally speaking, like in a in problem solving or whatever other um, thinking problems you're gonna have.
Yeah.
Because I can't remember exactly what video I was watching, but I was watching a video um, about this whole phenomenon about where physical exercise directly correlates to um, brain activity, and he was giving an anecdote from nature, and he was saying how there's this sea creature where he would have like a few neurons, right? Because brains are made out of neurons. So
Mhm.
basically, he would have a very, very small brain, and then he would use that brain to basically find a home, somewhere to settle down. And then once he'd found a home and settled down, he would ingest his brain. He would literally eat his own brain
What
for
the
protein.
hell, man?
Yeah. And the reason for that is because they never move after that.
Hmm.
Once they've settled down on like their piece of rock or whatever it is, that's it. That's the end of their life basically. Like they will still ingest stuff from like passing by, but they don't need to move anywhere else. So
Yeah.
because they don't need to move anywhere else, they don't need a brain, because brain is used for movement.
What's
So if
this
you think
animal?
about it, I can't I can't remember. I can
Wow,
look up the
dude.
video.
Yeah,
Okay.
I've got
wow,
it
dude.
somewhere. Yeah, it's really interesting, but it's basically, if you think about it this way and scale up to the human beings are probably the most dexterous creatures on this planet, right?
Right.
Apart from maybe snakes. But
Mm-hmm.
actually, I don't even think snakes have that same kind of control that humans have, because we have so many different little things that help us do different tasks.
Right.
including like opposing thumbs. Like you don't see animals having opposing thumbs, right?
Mm.
Maybe apart from like monkeys, but that's about it.
See a few, yeah,
Um, and
but not many.
the simple fact that we have so many, like that our body is so dexterous, basically says the reason why we have a bigger, more complex brain than just about any other. No, literally more complex than any animal,
Mm-hmm.
because we need basically all of that processing power to drive all of our dexterity.
Yeah. I mean,
So then,
another.
if you look at it this way, the more you exercise, the more you're going to be able to, the better your cognitive abilities are going to be.
Okay.
Obviously, if you only exercise and you don't do any cognitive stuff, you're not gonna be able to use your brain. Because come on, there's so many like bro dudes that go to the gym that like, oh yeah, let's
Yeah.
get
Oh yeah,
fit and
yeah.
get chicks, you know. Um, but like you look at so many other people that are big and successful, they work out, they
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
work out like crazy. Like look at Arnold Schwarzenegger. Look at the
Oh
amount of
wow.
success he's had. He was, and I don't think he still is. He was at some point the governor of
Mm-hmm.
Of
California,
California,
right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like, and how many movies he's been in, and how many other like books he's
Wow,
written,
dude.
and whatever other stuff he's done. Like, and this is just one person.
Yeah.
You look at many successful like CEOs; they all work out. The,
I mean,
the
yeah.
whole American Psychopath movie is basically was centered about this around this one dude that's trying to climb up the ladder. I mean, I haven't seen it, but from what I know, it's like centered around this one dude that's trying to climb the corporate ladder and just is super fit, and
I
then he
mean,
uses like his brain to like do whatever things.
even Elon
Um,
Musk works out every now and
yeah,
then,
yeah. Elon
But
Musk works out.
I think it's
Like
often, also these successful people kind of get to a point where they want to start working out. Also, I'm not sure what it is.
partly for
But
sure.
I know there's two things. I mean, there's the Greeks, the ancient Greeks. I mean, they had the gymnasium where they would study, but then part of what they really believed is that you also need to work out as part of this, to as part of staying
Hmm.
mentally
Yep,
mentally
mentally fit.
up. Yeah. Um.
You
So
see,
so
that's the one thing that I've always said is that we should see the silver lining in anything. Doesn't matter what it is. If it's something that seems to be like holy gracious and amazing, there's probably something bad to it, and we need to find that bad thing. And the
right.
same opposite thing for like, oh, even the devil like probably has a good side of it. And the one thing that I've always like praised some of our past totalitarian regimes that we've had throughout the world is that they always placed the health of the physical health of their citizens at heart. And I'm obviously not talking about all of them because many of them they just starve to death. But the big ones from like Germany and Russia, not gonna start going into that too often, too much.
Hmm.
Um, like they had health programs for like not health but like physical well-being programs for their youth,
Mm.
and they'll like to the point where if you go to Eastern Europe, you will find things like calisthenic parks everywhere. Like every block will have a calisthenics park.
Mm.
Oh yeah, wait, actually you're right.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and like that's one example of it because it's like let's get people to do their stuff and then they'll be fine in the head, mentally speaking. Um, but yeah. So like yeah, that's just the one thing I wanted to talk about because it really helped me and it helped a lot of other people. Just simply be able to think better, have a clearer head.
It's like a performance hack.
Yeah, literally, literally.
Wow, dude, that is sick. And yeah, I mean, we're slowly closing it, but I also want to thank you for inspiring us, man. Cause remember, I think we talked too about like how you inspired a few friends at least to start
Hmm.
exercising. And again, me and Oscar had a period of morning walks and even runs. And I don't know if it was you or whatever, but I am ready and preparing to run a half marathon in like a couple of
Nice,
months. Yeah, just
nice. Well
I
done,
was
well
like,
done.
hell yeah, at least something, because I mean, I'm more
Yeah,
into running, so I was like, well, if I run and then do some occasional running, or you know,
yeah. If I
it's
can,
still some exercising, right?
if I can mention something at the end quickly,
Yeah, yeah.
look up one of the biggest inspiration, not the only, but one of the bigger inspirations that I've had was David Goggins. Because so to quickly give him like a very quick 2 minute backstory. He was a fat, unhealthy, obese black dude in an impoverished community in America.
Wow.
Then through perseverance and what he called mind calluses, he just started working his way. He lost all of the weight in a period of like a few months in order to get into the Marines. I think it was the Marines anyway. One of those branches of military. And then from there he became a dude that can run ultra marathons just like that in a flick. And he can like also just like finish that ultra marathon and then just go to like a gym and lift with the bodybuilders.
Wow,
And
dude.
the one thing that he talks about is the mental well-being and being able to push um past your mental blocks. It's like he was even saying like if you think your body's about to fall apart, you probably still can go another 60%.
Hmm.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's the 40% military rule thing.
Yeah. Uh he did about he did like a couple interviews with Joe Rogan, like he went on his show at some point. Give those a watch. And then he also has a really I don't remember what the name of it, sadly, and I haven't actually read it yet. But he has a book that talks all about this kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, give those a shout and have a look into them. You and everyone else that's listening.
Wow, man. That's like that is inspiration, although now it's time to actually, as we've been on Oscar kept saying the same thing. Stop motivating, just keep going, right?
Yeah.
Just
Just do
gotta
it.
yeah.
For beginners, what I would say, honestly, doesn't matter what you do, as long as you do something every day,
hmm So
right?
consistency.
Yes, consistency is the key in the beginning because you can do like nothing, right? But as long as you have a bit of consistency going on, you will get addicted to it. You will absolutely get addicted to it, and you'll want to do more and more and more. And
Wow.
you're gonna start seeing results. And when you see those results, you're just gonna want to do even more.
hmm
And like the other tip, I haven't done this. I've only started this recently. Like I'm a few days into this tip. But one other tip, start noting your workouts down. Like whatever you do, just pop them down in a journal.
Mm,
You might not need to do that. If you're dedicated to it, you probably won't need to do it. But for some people, it can be really helpful so they don't just go like, oh, well, I did like 2 push-ups the other day.
right.
Well, it's like, okay, you did 2 push-ups the other day, right? Now you're doing 4, right?
Yeah.
You
Mm.
know,
hmm
um, like this kind of stuff. So basically, uh, just this goal comes from the usual gym stuff, which is called progressive overload. Because in the gym, you usually want to, you do bicep curls of 10 kilos, and then next week you come in and do 11, and then 12, and then so on and so forth. That's progressive overload.
hmm
So then you note that down on the journal, and then you can keep track of the weight. So then you know what else to do, like next time you come in. So you can basically put a bit of accountability on it, if that makes sense.
Wow, almost like formalize it,
Yeah, yeah,
document and everything.
yeah. The way I started doing it is also just to note down what I want to do for that day. So like almost like a to-do list. So then I can keep it together a bit better because I've been struggling with keeping by my workouts lately. But yeah,
Mm.
All right, like a
One
to-do
one of
list.
one of the
yeah,
things we talk about on the podcast here a lot is just forgetting what you're supposed to do.
yeah, that can happen.
And then you're like, and then it completely disappears for like a month, and you're like, what happened?
Yeah, exactly.
It's the worst.
But yeah, like the reason why I never needed that before is because I was simply doing out of necessity, out of
Mhm.
mental necessity, because I was so deep down in the gutter.
So was that your main reason, right? Like
Yeah,
just and
yeah.
and
I
it helped
was
helped you out of it as a
yes, so much. And I'm still like now back down into it, but it's helping me a lot. And whenever like I feel like I have no motivation to work out, or not necessarily motivation, but when I feel like I can't work out, like today's been a bad day for me, um, then I just feel mentally so much worse.
Mm.
Not because I feel guilty for not working out, but because I just am. Because I'm down in the dumps, you know?
Mm.
It's very hard to contextualize and put into words. But it really does make a difference.
Makes
Yeah, man.
sense.
Wow. I'm glad you found something that actually helps you out. And
I'm
yeah,
glad you guys are inspired. You're
for
the
Yeah.
only
sure,
ones
man.
that actually
Wow.
send me messages.
No, that's
I've
like
actually
for real, dude.
I've actually had a few people message me like when I finished my streak of posting, and they're like, "I'm actually sad to see you say that. Thank you for your posts."
Yeah, I was kind of sad,
And
dude.
I've had other people like actually say like, "Yeah, I'm gonna start working out now." I've had like at least three, maybe four people tell me that, and it feels amazing, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to keep on going with it. Because in the beginning it was just like, oh yeah, I've got nothing else better to do because I just woke up too early, like before my internship. So like, F it, let's just go outside for a walk and have a coffee.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, afterwards it was just like, right, I see some people are liking these. Let's just keep, and then there was personal accountability. So
Mhm.
let's just keep doing it.
Right.
I only stopped because it just got annoying to keep posting every day.
Right.
But you still do it, don't you?
Yeah, I still
Okay.
do it.
Wow.
It's a bit harder mentally speaking because I have less accountability, but I still do it.
Damn.
But yeah, actually, I'll go right now on my app and like on my fitness tracking app, and I'll tell you that ever since I've been doing it before as well, but I just didn't wear my fitness tracker.
Hmm.
But I've put on my fitness tracker exactly 34 days ago, and since then I've been above my steps every single day.
Damn.
Yeah.
So does this perseverance that you have with working out translate into like mental activities?
Yeah.
Because we have, there's a lot of people out there to motivate you to do stuff physically, and then telling you to push yourself and then to be consistent and all of that. You get lots of these people on YouTube, but then you don't get a lot of that, I guess, in the intellectual community. So
Hmm.
do you find that it translates from when you see yourself being able to push yourself physically, that you're like, oh, so I can push myself mentally also? Do you feel
Yeah.
that?
It helps a lot. I can concentrate a lot more when I'm sitting down to program or do whatever I need to do after I've had a good workout. I might be a little bit tired. Sometimes it happens. I'll have bad days or whatever. Or maybe I've had a bit too much caffeine. I'm having a bit of a crash. But in the end of the day, I will still be able to sit down for longer periods of time and concentrate and get in the zone.
Yeah.
So would you advise doing these in the mornings more or less?
It depends. I like doing them in the mornings because it's just a good way to start the day. It's a good schedule to get into, a good routine if that makes sense. But it's like I haven't even been able to do them in the morning. I've for the past like couple months I've been doing them like around lunchtime. Um, Simply because of just how everything turned out to be.
Hmm.
But it depends on person from person to person.
Mm.
If you enjoy doing them in the evenings, power to you. I usually find myself being more sluggish in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Um, and I'm like like over the past year and a bit, I've transitioned to being more of a morning person. So I find it in the morning being a lot better, especially because I'm gonna have caffeine anyway. So might as well use that caffeine, maybe do a little bit more, and then go about getting in a good workout.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, it's person preference. Like when it comes to working out and nutrition and other parts of the fitness, is like you can try and follow cookie cutter scheme, but don't give up when it fails because it might fail. Because what works for someone else might not work for you.
Yeah.
It's just the reality of things.
Yeah. I mean, for me, like evenings work really well.
Yeah,
Because I don't know if you listen to music when you work out, but I like to listen to music when I
yeah,
work out right now. But I don't want to, for me personally, listen to music in the morning recently because I like to kind of keep this quiet mind in the mornings. at least
Peaceful. Yeah, I know what you mean.
until like 12, because then at the end of the day, it's like I'm overstimulated and stuff.
Yeah.
And, you know, sitting
I
down.
100% know what you mean. Although I've been able to find my peace in music, so
Right.
yeah. I'm just that kind of person. Like I'm the kind of person that just listens to music like 24/7 unless he's with someone.
Fair enough. So you just kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
I guess.
You're
Yeah.
listening to
It
metal, aren't you?
depends. Actually, lately I've been listening to a lot of indie rap.
Oh, okay.
But like it doesn't matter. Like in the end, whatever clicks with your brain, you know.
Yeah. Whatever works for you.
Yeah, like some people could probably do it to classical music.
Probably.
In fact, some people probably are. Like it's, in the end, yeah, whatever works.
Oh,
For
for
that.
sure.
But yeah,
Anyway, guys, I think we want to wrap up. That was
yeah.
quite a
Thanks for having me on.
conversation. Yeah, it's very interesting, dude. I'm looking forward to like having you sometime in the future because you know, podcast keeps going. We just keep doing it.
Yeah,
And
give me a shout like another 50 days from now, and I'll give you another update.
Oh yeah. Let's do it.
check in on it.
Note
Yeah.
it down.
Yeah. I'll provide some pictures for you if you want.
Oh yeah.
Well, what if we transition to you know the video form already?
Mm.
I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But wow.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us, Dumitru. Really, as
Thanks
I say,
for having me.
Yeah. Thank you.
we'll
That
see
was
how
really
the
good.
see how the half marathon goes. But that's probably one of the things that you inspired me to just go because wow, man, seeing someone in
I'm glad.
you know in a close environment, just a friend, just do that. It's like whoa, why can I not do that? You know, it's like
I think that's the reason why I've been able to like motivate some people. Honestly, because I didn't expect to be able to actually motivate people.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had people like hit me up. It's like, yeah, I'm actually
All you
sad that
needed
you're
to do
doing
is
this. So it's
just
like, wow.
this is pretty much leading by example. All you need to do is just
Yeah,
do it yourself and
Yeah, 100%. And someday I want to come back stronger and better. I even had ideas where I would like create an actual um, Instagram challenge for this, but it's like logistically wasn't quite working out 100%. And I was also busy doing other stuff. But yeah, like someday I'll come back stronger and better, and maybe I'll get some more people behind my goal.
wow,
For
dude.
sure.
Good stuff. My God. Thank you for everything you do, man. Just keep going. Never stop. And hell yeah. Talk to
Will do, man.
y'all.
Will do.
Talk to y'all everyone next week, guys. Thank you for this and see you later.
Thanks for having me.
So yeah.